The Ontario Hockey League has officially canceled its season. Any return-to-play plans are being abandoned in the end. The OHL never got its season going at all. To break this down, we are joined now by our junior hockey analyst, Sam Cosentino. For anyone that's unaware, in the province of Ontario, there is a stay-at-home order in place until at least May the 20th. So, Sam, is this just a matter of looking at the calendar and going, yeah, this just can't happen?
Yeah, no question about it. I mean, in the typical year, we'd be talking about the Memorial Cup being played around that time. So you're looking at the calendar, and let's say it's May 20th and everything's good to go by then, which is really an out of the water expectation based on what's happening with the variants of COVID-19 and how slow the vaccination process has been. So now you're looking at, all right, May 20th, we're good to go. You have to bring players into whatever protected environment they're going to be in. They'd have to quarantine for likely 14 days, especially some of them that might be coming from overseas or from the States or even, from far wherever it is that they may have been playing. And then you're looking at a situation, you have to have some sort of training camp. You probably have to have at least one exhibition game. And then you're going to start into a regular season. And by the time you do all that, you're looking for sure, at least at the very earliest, the middle of June. And now you're talking about the NHL draft, July 23rd. You're talking about now starting to get into the season where a lot of rinks are maybe pulling out their ice. There's different things that have been scheduled that might be allowed to go on. There's a whole bevy of things that could take place here to not allow the season to continue. But basically, too little, too late is really what it comes down to.
Now, you mentioned the looming NHL draft, and for draft-eligible players, most of them haven't played a competitive hockey game in now well over a year. I'm sure there's enough video on the top prospects out there, but what is the other kids supposed to do, a potential third or fourth rounder?
Well, you're right, Jesse. And let's look at some of the high-end guys. You think about Brant Clark, Brennan Othman. You think about Mason McTavish. These are guys that play in the Ontario Hockey League that are first-round rated players. And so they've had the opportunity to go and play in other places, Francesco Pinelli being another one of them. And some of them will have the opportunity to play in the under-18s representing Canada at the end of the month in Texas. But what is more concerning when we're not talking about the 03s, the late 02s, which are first-year draft eligibles this year, are the players that are reentry players, the players that are late bloomers, the players that have grown. They've worked on their skills somehow through this time in the pandemic. They've actually improved immensely, but there's been no opportunity to see those players. And so now you're talking about players essentially probably from pick number 40 on down that reside in Ontario, where the scouts only have a 17-year-old or a 16-year-old season in which to go by, and nothing really recent. So a player completely could have changed his game over the course of that time, yet there would be no way for the opportunity for scouts to see that.
Now, if we focus on the older kids, the 20-year-olds, if you look at the NCAA, they've extended eligibility rules. In most cases, this season didn't even count towards their eligibility. Now, I know the OHL is based on age. Is there anything that can be done for the kids who would be graduating out of the OHL this year, or is their junior hockey career just over?
Well, it looks to me that it might just be over, and then the responsibility might become on the agent or the league to try and put together some sort of showcase for either European teams, for U Sports teams, or for pro teams that might offer up a training camp invite. So it's a really difficult situation for those older players. But in terms of the eligibility, if you extend it on one end, you have to shorten it on the other. So now you're talking about the 16-year-old players who have a much greater runway towards that draft year, who may be missing out on those opportunities if the eligibility is extended by the OHL to another year. And then you're also looking at a situation, that growth of 1 year, where guys are turning from boys to adults, and then how's that going to play playing against essentially 16, maybe 17-year-old players? So that is going to be a tricky situation. You hope at some point that either through the player himself, the league, or the representatives of those players, that they'll be able to put together either some sort of showcase video or some showcase skates when it becomes allowed to do so by the health authorities, that they may have the opportunity to be seen by then. But it is a really difficult situation for those players set to graduate out of the league, no doubt.
Have any players reached out to you, Sam, and explained their stories or asked for help in getting looked at?
Yeah, no question. I've been approached by a couple of different players to try and help out, either on Instagram, showing off some of their videos, by maybe talking to scouts. Not that they, that I have the greatest impact or influence, if you will, but people know that I'm heavily involved with the draft, so there's no question. But I think about a guy who I saw fairly recently by the name of Chandler Romeo, who's a player who's 6'5", defenseman, played junior B last year, so probably didn't get a lot of opportunity to strut his stuff in front of some big-time scouts. Well, here's a guy who really moves well. He's big, he's strong, and so this year would have been huge for that player. He would have made his jump to the Ontario Hockey League with the Hamilton Bulldogs, and by all accounts, based on what little I saw, probably would have had some sort of impact. And when you're talking about a 6'5" defenseman, they don't grow on trees. So this is the type of player who's really, really going to miss out on the year. A guy like Cameron Saprika, who seems to be a late bloomer. His dad played some pro hockey. Here's another guy who sent me some stuff last week. Hey, can you help me out? Can you get some stuff out there about me? 2001 October-born player, and just looking for any type of angle in which to try and promote himself. And again, on his third team, didn't get much opportunity in Peterborough, moves to Hamilton, had a decent year last year, was going to start this year with Sarnia, where opportunity was going to be given to him, yet that opportunity never arose. So there's been players, no doubt, that have reached out. There's been representatives that have reached out to try and help promote their players. I do what I can, but you also have to walk that ethical boundary as well, in terms of trying to help out certain people and not others. But you can't stress just how difficult the situation it is for players of all ages.
Yeah, it is another sad day for junior hockey. I guess we can all do our part as well. If you see a video of a junior hockey player on social media, retweet it, send it along. Let's get some more eyes to view it and help these kids out. Sam Cosentino, thanks for your insight as always.
Yeah, thanks so much, Jesse. I'm at SammyCos4 on Instagram. You can send whatever you can over to me there, or at least DM me, and we'll see if we can try and facilitate some of that stuff. It's been challenging, no doubt, but we'll see if we can help out the best way we can.